Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Governance and Transparency Committee meeting for August 2021. This meeting is being held virtually and streamed publicly in accordance with COVID provisions of sections 277B, C and D of the Local Government Regulation 2012. In terms of councillor attendance this morning, I can see all committee members are in attendance.
Virtual.
So everyone's here. There's no apologies. Does anybody have a declaration of interest in matters on the agenda today? No, there are no declarations of interest. Our first item today is business outstanding, the Studiosity subscription renewal, which has been on the table since May. I'll move a motion that we pick that up off the table and deal with the matter today. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Milligan? Any discussion?
Yes, Chair. This matter was brought to us previously, and it was agreed that we would discuss it at our briefing session on the library strategy, which happened on the 27th of July. This subscription wasn't discussed then, and I know there's been some emails going around. It looks as though it's only servicing 25 people. So I'd actually ask if we could actually lay this on the table again, because it wasn't discussed at the library strategy briefing session.
Well, my intention to pick it up off the table is we can have a discussion with officers today about it, perhaps.
Okay.
It's the only item on our agenda.
Yes.
And has everybody from last night, Mr.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll put that. Any further discussion? So I'll put the procedural motion to the vote to pick the matter up at the table. Those four. Is that everyone? And carried. So we're all familiar with the item. It's been floating all around for a while. I'll call on Mr. Pascoe if he's available to speak.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Good morning, Mayor and Councillor. My name is Matt Pascoe and I'm the Content and Experience Manager for Libraries and Customer Services. Where would you like me to?
Mayor?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair. Mr. Pascoe, based on the figures that we saw last night, there were only 25 people using this service, and of that, I think 12 of them are high school students and the rest are uni and TAFE students. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We've had a massive disruption to the promotion of this service over the last 12 months. The nature of this service is that it's one that it can very rapidly become a victim of its own success. If you look at the previous year's uptake, the minutes that are used.
It's okay, Mr. Pascoe. You've answered my question. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
I'd have a question then. Would the expectation be that after COVID, the usage statistics would return?
Sorry, yes. It's not now that we've established the children's library and we can start to resume our normal in-library marketing program for this particular service. It is something that is usually marketed by the librarians to our members, rather than a more usual highly effective email blasts and online marketing campaigns, which can reach tens of thousands. This is something that is due to the limited sort of nature of what could be usually utilised. It tends to be something that's that's more direct by the librarians for customers in need on site, and that marketing program was completely disrupted over the last 12 months, and it is exactly what we expect to see, improving over the next 12 months.
Mayor?
If I may, Mr. Pascoe, so the last 12 months we've had 25 users. What was the year before that? How many unique users did we have?
I believe it's 86.
86. And the year before?
Sorry, I don't have that right in front of me.
I think I've got about, was it 64 or something?
I believe that's right. I think it was the 60s, and I think it was the
60s and
the
66.
year before that. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pascoe, in terms of the libraries and plans and what services you seek to provide, would your view still be to recommend that this contract is entered into with Studio?
Yes, we haven't had a chance to review it with any intention to see it as our makeup for this year's budget.
Okay, so would you be comfortable if we put the matter on the table again while that review takes place, or what would your suggestion be?
I'm more than confident that that in the next 12 months we'll see an increase to the usage. I honestly believe that the usual patterns that we used to make people aware of this were utterly disrupted over the last 12 months. I think that it certainly, with the feedback we've had from the staff and from customers who've used it over the years, is that it does form a vital service for people in need. So I would be intending for it to be part of the part of our catalogue going forward. But I'm more than willing to speak with my manager and general manager about having a review of the service going forward.
Thank you. I've got no further questions. Councillor Jonick has a hand raised.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pascoe. I'm just looking at the amount that it costs per annum, sitting at around 33,000, and then looking at that 64 unique user number for 2019 prior to COVID, which equates to just over $500 per user, which is quite substantial for a subscription, and based on per user cost. Is what this program offers, is this a duplicate of what students could get from their universities or high schools?
I don't think so. It's got a particularly tailored program. The difference between this and some of our other subscriptions, where the subscription costs are more in the sense user, is that this is an actual human being on the end of the line providing the service. The former name of the service was mytutor.com.au. So it is connecting users with tutors, that providing a syllabus that is not one that's duplicated with the to my knowledge, and certainly through their marketing and catalogue explanations, it's not one that's mimicking something that's at TAFE or at other tertiary or secondary institutions.
Any further? Keep going, Councillor Jonick, sorry.
Sorry, so I just did a quick calc and looked at the minutes, and it equates to about $354 per hour for the tute cost, I guess. I'm just trying to to work out like the.
Sorry, Councillor, are you looking at the projected costs? Sorry, the budgeted costs in there are like the uppermost ceiling that we'd be hoping to achieve, rather than the costs against previous years.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the bottom of the email and it had writing feedback, engagement, submissions 84, total minutes 2,205, and then Connect Live engagement minutes 3,371.
Sorry, I'm not looking at the same document that you are, Councillor.
That's okay. I know this, like I know if this is a niche and it's important to our students, I would never want to take it away. But just looking at the cost effectiveness of it, I guess. But thank you, Mr. Pascoe.
Pleasure.
Any further questions for Mr. Pascoe this morning, committee? None. Thank you, Mr. Pascoe.
Thank you.
All right, so we haven't got a mover or seconder yet for this matter. Just conscious that it appears we don't have all the information we've yet to make a decision. So I'll just have a bit of a discussion if any committee members want to say what they think about how to proceed.
Sorry, good morning, Chair. Councillor Doyle here. Can I ask, is there the ability to extend the subscription for 1 year only? Because it seems to me from discussions this morning and hearing from Mr. Pascoe, the only way we're going to really determine a need, to continue with the subscription or this service for our community is to go forward and market it and hopefully see numbers of users increase. That we will only know that over time. Further discussion is really forecasting and predicting. It's how many people are going to take it up. I just wonder if we can extend it for a further 12 months and use that as our period of time in which we look at it closely to identify its value.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. I think Mr. White is on the call. If you heard that, Richard, feel free to pipe in.
Yep, we can. Certainly you could change.
So please announce your title.
Oh, sorry. Richard White, Manager of Procurement. You certainly can, and would be happy for you to change this. We're putting these up. It's an annual subscription, so we're putting these up as 3 years, as a 1 by 1 by 1 at the moment, mostly so that we don't have to come up and visit committee every year for some of these. But if you want to do this as a 1 year, certainly I would have no problems with that. Ideally, if we could today, we've extended this sort of blimp through with grace from Studiosity. So if we were to lay it down on the table again, we might have to close that off for a little while. But if we want to do a 1 year, we can certainly do that.
Thank you, Mr. White. Through you, Chair, just further couple of comments to the committee. Just my thinking on this, just want to reiterate, I think it's become clear from the information report we've been given and certainly comments from Ms. That only over the next 12 months can we really get a clear indication of how used this program could be. I'm also conscious that with the relocation of the library, our new library in Nicholas Street Precinct, there is increased traffic by high school students and university students using our new facility. It's a thorough. Several of the high schools headed to the train station. The former location, South Street, was a little bit out of the way. So I do know numbers of students going in and studying at the library has increased, and therefore, you know, there is the potential off the back of that for these students to then use Studiosity. I also want to speak to Councillor Johnnick's discussion around the commerciality behind the subscription, and I absolutely agree with our in-house accountant, Deputy Mayor John. It certainly is, you know, when you work out per child, per student, it does seem like quite a significant amount. However, I think we need to keep in mind that, you know, as a provider of services here at Ipswich City Council, as in, you know, any local government, services we provide don't always commercially stack up. You know, there is absolutely room for an argument that says that we provide to the community that will never be commercially viable, but it provides so many other benefits to the community. And with Studiosity, I'd like to think that some of the students accessing the service potentially, you know, don't have access to private tutoring through their homes. They may, you know, due to their financial situation at home, may not be able to access private tutoring. So I'd hate to think that any student, any child, any teenager misses out on this opportunity. Just my thoughts for what it's worth.
All right. Thank you, Carol. The Mayor Harding has a hand raised, well, virtual hand.
Thank you, Chair. What I'm looking for is what is the best service we can provide these students, and noting the fact that it is $33,000 a year. You know, in the midst of a COVID lockdown, we need to look for solutions that are value for money. And I guess I look at the fact, is this the best way to spend $33,000 to support between 25 and 80 students? I'm open to suggestions. I am disappointed that on the 27th of July, we didn't receive the briefing that we were supposed to. So dive really into the nitty gritty of what the services are, how they support, and you know, I have no issue if between those 25 to 80 students need this, then this is the difference for them between passing and failing, or them going on that learning journey. I'm open to have that discussion. Unfortunately, Chair, I don't have that information before me. We didn't receive that briefing, and it's a lot of money, and I'm very hesitant to support it without more information.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll go to Councillor Johnnick now.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to the discussion, I do understand where Councillor Doyle is coming from, and I understand there's a lot of what ifs at the present time, given drop in numbers because of COVID and other circumstances. I would definitely not want to cut off any type of lifeline to it at the moment during their, you know, Year 12 studies and tertiary studies. So I would generally, I guess, support extending this for another year to assess it with some additional figures based on the next 12 months.
I would just remind all members of the committee that so it has to go to a full ordinary council meeting before the recommendation can be enacted. I think just a good compromise today may be if we progress the matter to the ordinary council meeting in a fortnight's time, and I'm going to have a look at the CEO and see if we can add information that the Mayor requires prior to making that decision. Because if we can expedite it so that the decision's made at that ordinary council meeting, then we can potentially continue the service without disruption, which is a key concern that was raised today, and yeah, continue along. I agree with the concerns raised by the Mayor. It's important to scrutinise any expenditure items of this nature, but I also concur with Councillor Doyle and Johnnick that if this service is being utilised by vulnerable children and young adults in Ipswich who otherwise don't have access to that sort of support, be that via transport or financial means, then a disruption to service could be a pretty significant issue for those users. Members of the committee like to give their comments as to whether they're happy to proceed under that path forward.
I guess, are you moving an amendment that we move this to the ordinary council meeting?
That's what I would do if that's what the committee, if we're all agreeable, just trying to find some consensus.
Yes, Chair. And just to, I guess, aid the organisation to get any information to us before the ordinary, Mayor, what exactly are you after on top of the details that were emailed through?
Yeah, look, I was actually expecting on that briefing on the 27th of July to get a bit more detail. So of the 25, we do know that I think 12 are high school students and the rest are uni. I'd be interested to know, with the student union fees that are paid, that, I know that unis do provide these tutoring services as well. I was just looking at what other opportunities are there. And I guess, are we providing the right service? If not many people are taking it up, should we be looking at something else? Again, back down to value for money and how we're helping those more vulnerable in our community. I'd be keen to know what other service.
All right, we'll make a note of that. The CEO has her hand raised, so I'll go to her. I think she had her hand raised prior to you, Councillor Kunzelman. We'll go to you straight away after. CEO.
Thank you, Chair. Just in response to your question, certainly do all that we could to expedite a thorough response to the questions that have been raised here by the committee today, which we have noted. And I'd be confident that we could provide a detailed brief for the council consideration.
Thank you, CEO. Councillor Kunzelman.
I thank you to the CEO for her reassurance on that, and I would be prepared to support it going to the ordinary. I'm just conscious that there are some students who are particularly vulnerable at this time, given COVID and their lack of attendance at school, and the concern that they must feel about final exams, especially for grade 12. And I know there's not many of them, I understand that, but I would think that some of them were dependent on it.
Thank you, Councillor Kunzelman. My understanding of Studiosity is that people can use it from home too. They don't have to go to a physical library location. So perhaps there's opportunities there to promote it online. Do any other committee members have any thoughts, or are we happy to have that be referred to the ordinary council meeting of 19 August 2021 for consideration? Do I have a seconder for that?
I'll second that. Councillor Kunzelman.
Councillor Kunzelman. Any discussion? All right, we'll put that to the vote. Those in favour of the motion before us? That's unanimous and carried. Thank you, everyone. I think that's a pretty reasonable path forward to ensure there's no disruption to the service there. Our next item today is the confirmation of minutes for our previous Governance and Transparency Committee meeting of the 8th of July. Do I have a committee member who's happy to move that? Mayor Harding, seconder. Councillor Kunzelman. Any discussion? I'll take it as read. All right, well, I'll put it to the vote that the minutes of the Governance and Transparency Committee of July be confirmed. Those in favour? That's unanimous, carried. We are jumping between a couple of programs on my laptop here. We've got the no officers' reports, no notices of motion or matters arising. I'll declare the meeting closed at 9:53 a.m. Thank you, everyone.